everyone, and welcome to our Shabbat Morning Service. You are tuned into the live stream of Temple Emeth in Teaneck, New Jersey, and it is my pleasure to welcome you here into our building, here into the Rabbi Louis J. Siegel Sanctuary, where we will begin our Shabbat morning service in just a moment. I invite you, if you're watching us on Facebook Live or on YouTube, to enter your name and your location into the comments so that you can feel connected with the others who, though they may be at home, are in our same virtual space together. And I invite you also to make sure you have access to our Siddur. If you have a copy of Mishkan Tefillah at home, now is the perfect time to bring it to your screen so that you can have it in your hand and be turned to the right page and follow along. If you don't have Mishkan Tefillah at home, then you can access the prayer book in flipbook version by going to our Temple Emeth live streaming page. Scrolling down, you can click on a link to flipbook, and then when you get to the next page, click on the link for weekdays, Shabbat, and festivals. That will then bring you to the flipbook edition, and you'll be able to just type the page number I call out into the little window at the bottom of the page and be sure to follow along. We find that it is helpful and more meaningful if you rise and sit as the congregation does. So please do your best to follow along with those instructions as I offer them over the course of our service. But most importantly, we hope that you consider yourself not a viewer, but a participant, though you may be far away and watching through your device. If you consider yourself a participant in the service, then you will engage with others, not just in this live stream, but others who are taking time this Shabbat to worship God all over the world. I invite you at this time to turn in your prayer book to page 188. On page 188, at the top of the page, we join together in our opening song. Please join us as together we sing Hine Ma Tov.
Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
At the beginning of our service, we take time to acknowledge two miracles that make our existence possible: the miracle of the human body and the miracle of the soul. There is a blessing that acknowledges each of these miracles. They appear consecutively in our prayer book. And so I ask you now to turn to page 194 as we will offer the blessing thanking God for the body, and it will be immediately followed as we turn the page by the blessing for the soul. We read together. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar, umafli la'asot. As we turn the page, we join together in the blessing, thanking God for the soul. My God, the soul you have given me is pure. You created it, you shaped it, you breathed it into me, and you protect it within me. For as long as my soul is within me, I offer thanks to you, Adonai, my God, and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. Praised are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai, asher biyado nefesh kol chai, v'ruach kol basar ish.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lesechvivina leavchin ben yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir azurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, זוקף כפופים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, רוקע הארץ על המים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המכין מצעדי גבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מלביש ערומים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, הנותן ליעף כוח. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המעביר שינה מעיני ודממה מעפעפיי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני בצלם אלוהים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני בת חורין. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוזר ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
We continue on page 204 with the blessing for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Having offered the blessing for the study of Torah, we turn now to page 206, and we recite an excerpt of oral Torah from the Talmud in fulfillment of the blessing. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. Our service continues on page 223. Yishtabach Shimcha La'ad Malkeinu. You shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and on earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and your dominion. Yours are strength and sovereignty, sanctity, grandeur, and glory always. We offer our devotion, open our hearts in acclamation. Baruch atah Adonai, El Melech Gadol Batishbachot, El HaHodaot Adon HaNiflaot, Habocher B'Shirei Zimra, Melech El Chei HaOlamim. Praised are you, sovereign of wonders, crowned in adoration, delighting in song, eternal majesty.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechan u'v'yomechan u'v'chayei techol beit Yisrael, bagala u'v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mivarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya yetbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitomam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha b'richu le'elam min kol bechata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alama v'imiru. Amen.
Please rise for the Baruch Hu, page 226.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevarach, Baruch Adonai HaMevarach le'olam va'ed.
We turn the page and read together in English. You are praised, who rolls out the rough, raw clay of the universe into delicate vessels of light. And from nothing at all, we could perceive in a world that has turned old, a shimmering new creation right before our eyes, made this moment just for us. How much of life reveals your presence? How much Torah unfolds from each new flower, from each new wave that breaks upon the sea? You are praised who forms the clay that cloaks our lives, the delicate vessels which contain our light. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer ha-me'orot. We turn now to page 232 and page 233 as we join together in the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר נוחים מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לתותבות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We turn now to page 239 as we read responsively in the middle of the page. The eternal truth is that you alone are God, and there is none else. May the righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and exult in your justice. Let them beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Let nation not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war anymore. You shall not hate your brother or your sister in your heart. The stranger that sojourns with you shall be accepted as your equal, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Why do you crush my people and oppress the poor, asks God. We know that the Eternal One defends the poor and upholds the rights of the needy. Praise to God Most High. Blessed is God and deserving of blessing.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neder b'kadesh, nora tehilot oseh pele, nora tehilot oseh pele. Shira chadasha shipchu giulim, לשמחה לשפת הים, יחד כולם עודובים ליחו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ובדרך נאומך, Yehuda v'Yisrael, Go'alenu, Adonai tzvot shema, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
Our service continues with the tefillah, which is found beginning on page 242. Please rise for the tefillah.
Adonai, sifatai tiftachu fi agiti latecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGipor v'Hanora, Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Mikonei Akol, V'zocher Chastei Avot v'Imot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ava, Melech Ozer, U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'Zrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Akol Atarav Le'oshia, Mashiva Ruach U'Marit Agashem, Mechaker Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei Akol Berachamim Rabim, Samech Noflim Berofech Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umikayem Emunata Lishenei Afar, Micha Mochab Al Gvurot, Umida Melech, Melech Mimit, Umechayeh, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'amanata L'achayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Michayei Hakol.
Nikadesh et shimcha ba'olam, kishem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom, kakatu val yad neviecha v'karazeh el zeh ve'amar.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Meloch al haaretz kivada.
Adir Adirenu Adonai Adonenu Ma'adir Shimcha B'chol Haaretz.
Baruch kivod Adonai mi mikama.
Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu, hu Yashmeinu Brachamav Le'enei Kol Chai, Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Yemalach Adonai le'olam Elohai ichtion L'dor v'ador Hallelujah L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador Nagid God Alecha L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador Nagid God Alecha Ulenetzach netzachim Kedushatcha nakdish Kedushatcha nakadish V'shivcha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush Le'olam le'olam va'ed L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador Nagid God Alecha L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador
L'dor v'ador Nagid God Alecha Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. We turn now in our Siddurim to page 250, and to honor Shabbat and the rest that it offers us, we join together in singing Yismechu.
Yismechu v'malachutecha shomerei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha shomerei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mikadeshei mikadeshei shvi Shabbat. Kulam yisbe'u v'yitangu mituvecha Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Ve'hashvi ratzita ba v'kidash shel Shabbat chemdat yamim אותו קראת שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת בקורי עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת בקורי עונג שבת זכר זכר למעשה בראשית שבת זכר זכר למעשה בראשית שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת בקורי עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת בקורי עונג שבת.
We turn now in our Siddurim to page 257. On 257 is a prayer called Modim, an English interpretation of that prayer. The word Modim means thank you, and each paragraph of this prayer concludes with three words which mean we give thanks to you, Modim anachnu lach. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, Modim anachnu lach. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, Modim anachnu lach. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, Modim anachnu lach. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, Modim anachnu lach. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, Modim anachnu lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, Modim anachnu lach. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose, Modim anachnu lach. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, lecha na'eh lehodot. We take a moment now for Tfilat Halev, the opportunity to offer to God the prayer of our hearts. Inspirational readings for this moment of silence are found on pages 260 and 261.
Sim shalom tova uvracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha. Sim shalom tova uvracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu aleinu. Yisrael
This week's Torah portion is Parashat Vayera. We find it in the book of Genesis. And in Parashat Vayera, we have a number of different narratives. It begins with Abraham being visited by God and then visited by three strangers. That's the part that I'm going to be reading from in just a moment. It is followed by this tense discussion and negotiation between God and Abraham over the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah. And later, Sarah is going to give birth to a son, Isaac. But within all of this is a common theme, and that common theme to me is anticipation. Abraham seems to be anticipating these strangers who are not scheduled to come by, but he hopes they'll come by. Sarah, of course, anticipates the birth of her son, even though she laughs at first at the idea. And even God has to wait in this Torah portion, as I will indicate in a few moments as I offer a Dvar Torah. It's my pleasure to welcome to the Bima Maddie Eichen, who has the Aliyah today. Maddie is celebrating a birthday this week, and so I thought it would be nice for her to enhance her celebration by offering our blessing this morning. So I'm just going to take one moment to make sure I'm in the right spot. The Torah portion begins, if you have a copy of the Old Plout, we're at the very beginning of the portion, Genesis chapter 18, verse 1. And it's in the Old Plout on page 122 and the New Plout on page 121. So we continue now with the reading of the Torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'notan lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Vayera elav Adonai belonei mamre. Vehu yoshev petach ha'ohel kechom hayom. Vayisa einav vayar. Vehine shlosha anashim nitzavim alav. Vayarotz likratam mi petach ha'ohel vayishtachu artza. Vayomar Adonai im na matzati chen be'einecha al na ta'avor me'al avdecha. Yukach na me'at mayim v'rachatzu raglechem. V'hish'anu tachat ha'etz, va'ek chafat lechem, v'sa'adu libchem, achar ta'avoru, ki al ken avartem, al avdechem. Vayomeru ken ta'aseh kasher dibarta.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nota b'tokenu. Baruch Ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Thank you, Maddie, and Yasher Koach. Our service continues now with the Mishaberach, which is found in your Siddur on page 371. If you are thinking of someone in need of healing and you would like to share their name in the comments section of YouTube or Facebook Live, I invite you to do so at this time. And as I stand at the Torah, I offer the names on our congregational list of those our members are praying for and thinking of in need of healing. We call to mind David Abrams, Susan Abrams, Ruth Adler, Carol Lucy Aronson, Kathy Anderson, Chippa Batblima, Tom Cook, Naomi Cordova, Bernadine Cruz, Jill Dick, Karen Dugood, Phyllis Eastman, Zachary Edelstein, Gerald Ehrlich, Richard Erdreich, Daisy Estremera, Norma Feder, Faye Feder, Wendy Filowitz, Harry Filowitz, Fran Freeman, Frida Hinde Bakenendel, Joe Garcia Luftig, Cynthia Glazer, Jane Green, Patricia Hamilton, Priscilla Hartwell, Tammy Hecht, Ellen Heller, Itai Ze'ev ben Leah Rachel, Marty Jaffe, Phil Kirsch, David Cohane, Emily Kolinkowski, Phyllis Kopf, Francesca Krasinski, Frank LaBarbera, Stanley Leibowitz, Roberta Leibowitz, David Levine, Susan Levitt, Karen Lieberman, Tony Lucanto, Edith May, Anita Miller, Gilda Mintz, Moshe Ben Benjamin, Nathan Moskowitz, Noach Ben Dina, Jack Noonan, Joanne Noonan, Irma Olivache, Gail Packles Dallas, Chet Parks, Beth Pasquarello, Judy Ann Porter, Hannah Princess, Dolores Rabin, Barbara Reich, Melissa Roderick, Louis Rowland, John Rosenfield, Shirley Rosenzweig, Monica Samaniego, Glenda Saunders, Gary Sargent, John Skelfo, Carl Shapiro, Deborah Siegel, Sharona Brucha Bat Shmuel Valea, Carol Stevens, Woody Stevens, Marva Taha, Janet Tamburo, Janet Tamam, Tzvi Ben Yankel Yosef, Art Vatsky, Brad Weiner, Rosemary Williams, Elise Woods, Yaakov David Ben Sarah, Yudit Leah Bat Miriam Rachel, Yitachana Bat Bluma, Gabrielle Zadra, Zlata Bat Brucha, and Tzvi Alea. We think of all of them as we join together now in the Mishaberach.
Mishaberach avatenu mikol habrachot limatenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mikol habracha lavatenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
The American people have been asked to be patient. It's not the first time. For about the first 70 years of the Republic, we did not have an election day, but an election season, in which each state had its own date for voting, and the results trickled into Washington and across the country over a matter of weeks. Two major developments changed this. The first was in 1844, when Samuel Morse's telegraph line conveyed the first political news that Henry Clay had received the presidential nomination of the Whig Party. The second was the next year, when Congress consolidated the 34-day election season into a single day. So technology decreased the waiting time for presidential election results, which was accelerated again by radio, again by television, and yet again by the internet. But technology cannot speed the process of politics. The 1876 campaign resulted in several states being represented by competing sets of electors. There was no majority in the Electoral College, and the winner was not determined until just 2 days before Inauguration Day. So despite the advances in information technology, we are still asked to wait this week. Voting technology has not kept pace with information technology. So though news can reach us from Arizona or Georgia or Nevada in an instant, it has taken much longer to release the information that we crave. The result is waiting, which is made bearable only if we are patient. In Parshat Vayera, we see the value of patience. God has come to visit Abraham. The commentators widely agree that God is going to visit Abraham as an act of Bikur Cholim, visiting the sick, following Abraham's ritual circumcision in the previous chapter. Rashi, citing the Talmudic sage Chama Bar Chanina, even specifies that God visits Abraham on the third day following his circumcision. That's a long time to wait, both for the wound to heal and for someone to visit. No sooner, it seems, does God appear to Abraham than Abraham gets additional visitors. When it rains, it pours, I guess. The meaning of the word Adonai in this verse is vague. It could be a way to address three strangers who have just come his way. But according to Rashi, the word Adonai is used by Abraham the same way we use it today, as a proper name for God. By this reading, Abraham is saying to God, and I'm paraphrasing here, "Thank you, Adonai, for visiting me, but wait right here. Don't go anywhere while I tend to these total strangers who are headed my way." Perhaps this is Abraham's passive-aggressive way of saying he didn't appreciate having to wait 3 days for a divine visit. More likely, it shows the friendship between Abraham and God and the passion that Abraham had for hospitality. Either way, at this point in the story, it is God who must exercise patience, even with the most upstanding person. When Abraham offers his hospitality to the strangers, he entices them to stay with the offer of water and bread, and then says that they can move on. What he delivers is a feast, replete with a prepared calf and curds and milk. They must have been waiting much longer than Abraham implied when he first convinced them to sit down. And knowing as we do that they are angels, knowing that in traditional Jewish thought angels do not actually eat or drink, these three are especially patient. They are waiting under that tree for a huge meal they did not ask for and cannot eat. But the most patience is required when the lead angel says to Abraham, while Sarah is also listening in, that next year Sarah will bear a son. The idea is so fantastical that Sarah laughs when she hears it. God rebukes her for laughing, and now they must wait a full year to see if it will come true. Whether Abraham and Sarah are patient over the course of the year, the Torah does not say. What we do know is that it is during this year that Abraham and Sarah spend time in the realm of King Abimelech of Gerar, and Abraham passes Sarah off as his sister for the second time. King Abimelech is duped into sinning and then punished for the sin he didn't even know he was committing. The punishment is that all of the women in the kingdom stop giving birth. If it is difficult for Sarah to wait this long, at least she now has company, as every other woman around her is in the same boat. When the waiting period is over, the prophecy comes true. Sarah bears a son and names him Isaac. Her ability to wait has brought her joy and laughter. We don't know how long our country will remain in its current state of waiting, but we do know that we are not the first to have to wait for good things to materialize and questions to be resolved. We kid ourselves when we think that the speed of technology will speed things along in every situation, and we can take comfort in the fact that even our ancestors, even the angels, even God, sometimes has to have patience. Shabbat Shalom. Our service continues with the Aleinu, which is found in your Siddur on page 586. So we turn now to page 586, and we look to the bottom of the page as our service continues with the Aleinu. Please rise.
הכל לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגר עלינו ככל עמונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We remain standing as we turn to a reading to introduce the Mourner's Kaddish. The reading is found on page 595. There are stars up above so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. This Shabbat, we remember those for whom we are in the Shloshim, 30-day period of mourning. Bob Friedman, cousin of Maddie Eichen and Barbara Balkin. Buzz Robbins, remembered by Ada Jean Fisher. Helen Ulster, aunt of Nikki Falk. Barbara Zuckerman, sister of Cindy Kitzinger. Helene Farber, cousin of Gary Friedland. And Beverly Friedland, cousin of Gary Friedland. We remember as well those whose yahrzeits occurred this week. Samuel Astor, Hannah Badian, Frida Barhash, Blanche Becker, Sharon Bernardic, Mary Canali, Henriette Cohn, Isabel Hamill, Blanche M. Hand, June Moss Handler, Sarah Heidekorn, Lillian Ivers, Joseph Kaplan, Richard Kitzinger, Ida S. Curer, Julius Levine, Jerome Liblet, Edward Lieberman, Lawrence Lipsitz, Cora Myers, Carol Montalbano, Evelyn Moss, Irene Packles, Beatrice Silberberg, Harry Steinberg, Rose Subin, Martin B. Woods, Clara Wunderlich, Seymour Yugglewell, Lori Zimmerman, and Roy Zimmerman. And we remember the names of 6 of the 6 million who perished in the Holocaust. Hanna Schwartz of the Soviet Union, age 45. Rachmiel Polus of Poland, age 40. Yitzhak Polus of Poland, age 39. Jakob Bornstein of Poland, age 21. Rachmiel Bornstein of Poland, age 31. And Josef Brandon of the Soviet Union, age 40. We remember them all. We take them into our hearts with our own as we turn now to page 598, and we join together in the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'yizman kariv ve'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'rechu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated.
Rabbi, you're going to switch places with me. I'm going to read the announcements and you talk to these ladies.
Okay. There really aren't any written announcements.
Anyway. Are they here? Oh, you're there. No.
There's nothing to read. You're just talking about service times.
Good. Basically. Okay. Well, I don't even know what those are. Shabbat Shalom. So nice to see everybody. And we have a lot going on at Temple Emeth in the coming week. Certainly services next week. I'd like to remind you to please always check your email because we are going to be upcoming changing some of the service times. Next Friday night will be an amazing service because we'll have special music for Kristallnacht. Our incredible flutist, Carol Shansky, will be playing some beautiful Kristallnacht music next Friday night. So I hope that you will all be here on live stream, watching her and listening to some of the music that she'll share with us. Shabbat Shalom, and have a beautiful week.
I'm back. Well, I was called off the bima to be informed by our technical crew that that the wait is over, that Pennsylvania has been called by several news outlets. So, of course, we're done waiting for Pennsylvania. I think that we will still have to wait a little bit longer to see if there are any court challenges or any other developments with regard to many states perhaps doing recounts. So I think that the idea of having patience is certainly emphasized by the fact that on one hand, our patience has paid off and we have a little resolution to our election. And on the other hand, I think we still have a little bit more waiting to go before this process is completely resolved and settled. At this time, we continue with the Kiddush. So I invite you to bring your Kiddush cup to the computer as I bring mine to my lectern. Please rise for the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
L'chaim. And we join together in the Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
As we conclude our worship together, I invite you one last time to wish Shabbat Shalom to your fellow worshipers on our comment section on Facebook Live and YouTube. Turn to the people in the room around you if you've shared this experience with others in your household. And we conclude with the words, Shabbat Shalom.